Hi everyone, my name's Rowan Yeoman. Welcome to this Support Tools short webinar on social in Canvas examples. We're going to look at the Red Cross shops as our example today. These short webinars are put together for primarily for the use of people working with social enterprises. So people out there trying to support social enterprises to be more successful. These example canvases are useful to help you deepen your understanding of the canvas so that you can better support. But they're also useful for social entrepreneurs looking to use the canvas for their own social enterprise. So the goal today here is deepening understanding of the social in canvas. Over the years, as we teach the canvas, people have always asked to run examples through the canvas because that's often the best way to learn. And so these webinars are just an opportunity to do that and actually understand, okay, all good in theory, but in practice, what does it actually look like? So what's the canvas for as background? So there's sort of three main things the canvas helps you do. It helps you take a solid social enterprise idea and sketch it as a complete business model. So this is where we're going to develop the whole business model and not just a piece of it. So it's not just an idea for a product or service. It's not just a problem, a social problem that we want to solve. It's the whole business model, all the pieces that are really important to actually making it succeed. That's what the canvas helps us do, is sketch those all in one place and all in one time. Secondly, it helps us decide whether the idea is worth pursuing. So oftentimes we'll have an idea that sounds great, people get excited about, we get excited about, but once you actually sketch the whole thing, you've got a much better opportunity to decide whether it's actually worth taking it ahead. And if you do decide to take it ahead, number three, putting together a strategy for validating the business model in the real world with real customers. So that's the next goal. If you decide you do want to take an idea forward, or the social entrepreneurs you're supporting want to take an idea forward, the canvas allows you to put together a strategy for validating it. So what do you actually need to go out and prove that you've sketched in this canvas? Okay, so with that said, let's rip into it. So today we're going to look at the Red Cross shops. And so this is a generic look at, or a specific look at a generic model. So the Red Cross shop, which is like virtually all opportunity shops, they're run in a pretty similar way. So you could use this to explain St. Vincent de Paul's or whichever other opportunity shop that of the many that we find in some of our communities. And the fundamental model is you get donated clothing and you sell that donated clothing at relatively low prices to people in the community that are in the market for affordable clothing, and the profits go to support the work that the Red Cross or other organization does. Okay, so let's have a look at the canvas itself. So this is just a canvas that we've built in a Google Doc, a Google drawing. If you go to the socialincanvas.com website, you'll be able to get a link to this drawing or one similar to this, where you can do your own version online, or you can do it on paper. So if you look at some of the other resources, or have looked at some of the other resources that explain the canvas process in more detail, you'll recognize that we sort of start with the purpose. Then we can look at the impact model, how we understand the impact that happens. And then the core of the actual economic engine of the social enterprise is this business model piece here. So we look at customers, who's going to buy our products or do the things that we need done to make the business model work. Problem, what problem can we solve for them that will get them to do the thing we need them to do to make the business model work? Unique value proposition, how do we articulate the value that we're going to create for them as we solve that problem? The solution, what are we actually doing? What's our thing? The channels, how do we reach the customers we need to reach to make it work? The revenue or financial sustainability, which is how do we make money to make this whole venture work? And then costs, what does it cost us to deliver this product or service and impact? And then key metrics, what might we measure to prove that the business model works? and unfair advantage. What is it that what advantages have we got that will help us succeed in the face of competition, or just succeed in general? What are our superpowers that we have? So let's get stuck in, starting with purpose. And so just to be clear, this is my estimation of what the Red Cross shop business model is. This isn't one that they've actually put together themselves, so this is just for educational purposes. So purpose, what I put is to help build the financial foundation of the Red Cross so we can do our work better, so we can better do our work. And so this is understanding that the job of the store primarily is to earn income for the Red Cross so the Red Cross can do other things. So they have all the other activities that they do to create impact, and the job of the store is primarily to earn the income that helps pay for that. From an impact perspective, I haven't detailed the impact model here because it's going to be the Red Cross's impact that they deliver through the different activities that they have, and they will have detailed and had they will have developed a model that explains how what they're doing is having an impact, but that will depend on what the different activities are, whether it's delivering first aid support, whether it's supporting elderly people at home with care, whether it's all of the numerous other things that the Red Cross does. They'll have an impact model for each of those that explains how it's actually creating impact. So I haven't detailed it here. Often with social enterprises that are focused primarily on earning income to pay for impact elsewhere, the impact model is the thing elsewhere that they're paying for. Whether they're taking that money and donating it to an organization that's delivering impact, the onus is on that organization to develop their impact model and understand how they're making a difference. The Red Cross just needs to know that is a good impact model and that their money is being used well. So if we jump into the business model piece, so what have we done here? Here we go. So starting with customer segments, if we think about with the canvas, we want to make sure we color code different customer segments if we have fundamentally different customer types or segments. So what I've got here are two different customer types here. We've got the local community members on a low income. So those are the shoppers. They're the people that are going to be coming into the local Red Cross shop and buying low-cost clothing. And then the other customer type are the people that are going to be donating the clothing. And so I've articulated them as middle-income Red Cross supporters with goods to donate. So people that support the Red Cross and have useful things, clothes and household items that they want to donate. Because we need both of those customers to do the thing we need them to do in order for the business model to work. If people came into shop but no one donated anything, it doesn't work. If people donated things but no one came into shop, it doesn't work. And the early adopters for the shopping customer segment, I've put down as parents with young families on a budget. And my sense is that their problem and need for low-cost clothing will be heightened as a subset of that local community members on a low income, because they've got children who are growing and the constant need to update their clothing because they're growing out of their old clothing, and the pressure that puts on a budget. My hunch would be that makes them sort of ideal early adopters. The broader customer segment that the Red Cross wants to attract to their stores will include the elderly and everyone sort of in the spectrum in between, but the ones that are probably most motivated and the ones that you would test first on would be those parents with young families, because they've got the strongest need. If we jump across to problem, and remembering that the problem is not the social problem that we're trying to solve, it's the customer problem. It's the problem that is going to motivate the customer to take the action we need them to take. Obviously, the social problems are tied up in the impact model, because that's going to detail, the various activities that the Red Cross are going to take, and how that problem gets solved through those activities. But the problem here is the customer problem. And so in yellow for our shopping customer, money is tight for clothing and household items. So it's just that. Basically, you need to buy stuff, money is tight. For the donating customer, unwanted items piling up and too much time and hassle to get rid of them. So that idea that people have valuable things, but they don't have time or the inclination to sell them on Trade Me. So we've got them sitting around and they're like, what do we do with that thing? On the buying side, the existing alternatives that sort of show that there is demand for low-cost items would look at maybe the Warehouse and Kmart and other thrift stores and secondhand stores that would show that people were out looking for secondhand clothing and secondhand household items because there's a need there. If we jump across to the value proposition, and remembering the value proposition is the benefit that we're going to create for each of those customers, which is really the problem going away. The benefit is that they don't have the problem anymore. So if we look at the purchasing customer, so basic things that your family needs at prices you can afford. And that solves the problem of money is tight for clothing and household items. The benefit that we're going to create, the value we're going to create for the donor, no hassle clothing bins and furniture pickup. So the problem is they're piling up and it's too much hassle and takes too much time to get rid of them. The value, the benefit you get is the no hassle clothing bins and furniture pickup. So you just, have a bag of clothes in the back of your car, and whenever you happen to go to the supermarket car park, you pop it in the clothing bin. Or you give them a call and they'll come and pick your old couch or your old mattress up and take it away. No hassle. That's the value you're getting. So the solution is really the idea, the thing, the product or service. And so it's a charity store selling donated goods with volunteer staff. So that's the idea, the original idea, without fleshing out the rest of the business model. The channels, how we're going to reach customers at the scale we need in order to be successful. So for our shopping customers, prime foot traffic shopfront location. So the channel will be, that they're not going to spend money on advertising probably. They're not going to, do social media campaigns. I mean, they might nowadays, but, fundamentally the business model doesn't rely on that. It basically relies on having a really good location and having lots of people walk past and go, well, I might pop in and find some things, and that it's accessible. And for the donors, shop front and clothing bins in local car parks. So you can go into the shop and you can drop your stuff off, which is nice and convenient, or you can drop your stuff off in the car parks. That's how they're going to find those customers to donate things. Revenue or financial sustainability, income from clothing and household goods sales. So they make money from selling the goods in the shop. Cost structure, so you've got your standard rent, power, your standard operating costs for a shop. You've got to pay to pick up the goods and empty the clothing bins. You've got to purchase and maintain those bins. There's the management of the volunteers. So somebody in the system will be getting paid to manage the volunteers and to take some overall responsibility. And you've got to dispose of items that you can't sell. If you get clothes that are no good, you may have to pay to get rid of those things. Key metrics, they should be pretty basic because we're not having to find key metrics on the impact side, because that impact model is going to be taken care of by another part of the Red Cross. So it's really going to be measuring sales and incoming goods, and some key metrics around how that works. So it might be growth in sales or something like that shows that it's working, and that gives you some key metrics to work against your ideas for how you're going to make the shop more successful. Maybe you do window displays differently and then measure the change in sales. Maybe you rebrand yourself as vintage clothing and measure the change in sales and things like that. So some sort of sales metrics and some sort of incoming goods metrics. So what's your volume of clothing coming in? What's the quality and value of that clothing in? And those metrics will help you tune the business model around how you encourage the right kinds of clothing and household goods in the right volumes so that you can be successful. And then last but not least, the unfair advantage. What is it about the social enterprise business model that gives it a leg up, that gives it a chance of succeeding? Because, you know, retail stores are hard. It's hard business. And so there's got to be something in there that will allow the store to succeed in what it's trying to do, because it's probably not going to do massive volume. It's probably not going to, you know, have millions and millions of dollars a year flowing through. But what are those that unfair advantage or those unfair advantages? And so what we've got here is perhaps discounted rent. Maybe they get a good deal from a partner who or a landlord that's sympathetic to their cause, gives them a discount on the rent. Donated goods, obviously they're not having to pay for the stock that they have compared to a regular clothing store or a hardware store. Volunteer staffing, so they're not having to pay necessarily for all of their staffing. And a strong brand that the clothing stores get to piggyback on the back of all of the good work the Red Cross has done over the decades that have built their brand and allowed them to have that kind of brand recognition. So people will, you know, naturally want to support them because they have a relationship with them from some other thing in the past, or just are aware of that brand. So I'd sort of wrap those up and say, well, they look like advantages that the Red Cross stores will have over a competing store. So that's the canvas in its totality. Hopefully that was instructive. And there'll be some other examples of canvases to look at on the Whariaki website as well. Where did that disappear to? There it is. So there's some next steps to follow up with if you go to the Whariaki website, which is Ākina's resources website. And on there's a bunch of webinars that you can look at that will be useful if you haven't already. So Introduction to the Social Lean Canvas, a bit more time and depth understanding the canvas. Introduction to Starting a Social Enterprise is the journey through walking you through the canvas, how to use it, and how to go out and then validate what you've put into the canvas in the real world with real customers. And then the other support tools webinars are useful, where understanding the types of social enterprises, customer segmentation, prioritization, and the other example canvas short webinars as well will be useful to help you really understand kind of how to use the canvas and how to help other people use the canvas. And finally, if you jump on to socialleancanvas.com, like I said, you'll get a link to an online version of the canvas that you can use. And as well as that, there's a bunch of instructional content to help you fill in the canvas or help other people fill in the canvas. I hope this was useful. So jump on, have a look around, see what else you can find.